All right, good afternoon, good evening, good morning, wherever everybody's at in the world right now. It is the 12th of August, and we are on Module 7 of the SpeakEasy Method Masterclass series. I am so incredibly grateful to have a very special guest, Moj, who is going to really be, I don't want to say a test subject, but I think in a lot of ways she's going to represent a lot of what it is that we're going to be focusing on for our topic for this evening. I'd like to kind of introduce it with this idea that when we talk about self-mastery, I think for me at least, it's a topic that I thought it was about being like an expert, like a Mozart or a Da Vinci or a Tiger Woods or LeBron James, people who are just at the pinnacle of their profession that are just considered masters. And what I've developed and learned over the last few years is this idea that striving for mastery is something that is a daily practice and is one that I feel for all of us, we have the capabilities to do as long as we know what it is that our abilities are and what is our human potential. So I kind of want to talk about this idea of self-mastery and human potential. We're going to get into a really awesome discussion about this. But before I go any further, I would like to introduce Moj, and she is going to be our guest speaker for today. Moj, would you mind introducing yourself? Where are you from? Kind of give us the not the 10-cent tour, give us the 20-cent tour of you, your life, and just who you are.
Yes. Hey, Greg. Thank you for having me here, and thank you for you beautiful people here joining us today, and perhaps later get to watch this. So my name is Moj. Full name is Mojde, which means good news, and I sort of own that. I am originally from Iran. I came to US when I was about 18, 19 years old, and originally I went for being an engineer. So I'm an ex-engineer turned yogi, turned transformational spiritual catalyst. So that's in a nutshell as far as who I am. I am married. I have two gorgeous daughters, and I own that too. They're adult kids, 25 and 30, and they're still to this day a joy of my life. So
beautiful. Thank you so much. I'd like to know a little bit more about you and your work. And I know that you do a lot of amazing things within your coaching practice, but could you tell us a little bit about the areas of specialty that you have and kind of your focus areas for your practice? And what was the journey like to get to doing what you do?
Yeah. So what my main mission in life is to bring joy into every individual's life that I come in contact with. And I sort of picked that up at a very young age. I think I was about 4 or 5 years old. We were at my grandma's house, which was my sanctuary. And I was pouting because I have an older brother that was the favorite. And I wasn't getting the attention that I wanted at a young age. And so I was pouting, and I was kind of like complaining to my grandma in a way a 4 or 5-year-old would do. And my grandma just sat me down and looked into my eyes, and she said, you know what? You could be sad or you could be happy. It's your choice. And if you're sad now, later you're going to look back and you say, why was I sad? And then you get more sad because you were sad. But then if you look back, if you're happy now, you look back later and you say, wow, that was a tough time and I was still happy, you would be more happy. So which one do you want to go for? And that was like, even though I was very young, it really hit me right that it's my choice. It's my choice if I want to be in joy and bliss, or if I want to be grouchy and complaining about whatever it is. So that was like the beginning part of it. So from that day, I was always kind of looking into where can I find joy and serenity and peace and enthusiasm and excitement. in different aspects of life. And even living through revolution, I'm originally from Iran, kind of make the best out of that time, which was really tough, and a couple wars that were happening in my mother country, and still taking the best, keeping the head high, and taking the best memories out of that during the high school years and middle school years. And then coming to US and being I call it Generation Zero. Everybody calls it Generation One, but being Generation Zero with nobody to lean on, and being a kind of like a spoiled brat as the youngest of the two in the family, to come into kind of be thrown to something that I had to take care of all by myself from this much. But I still kept that in my system. And even though, I became an engineer, I went to UC Berkeley, it was tough. It wasn't easy. I had 5 jobs, but I still I had a joy in my step. I still enjoyed, I still took the best I could. And it wasn't, I was pretending. I was just in that space. And long story short, when I was in my engineering job, I was managing a part of the engineering group, which was called Reliability Engineering Group for a computer chip company. And when I had my daughters, the first one, I noticed that my job is not as fun as I had it planned out before, because I had a ball at work. Even though everybody was serious, I was still my own, wacko person, and having fun and enjoying my time amongst all these male-dominated industry. And when I had my second daughter, it became very obvious to me that I am not happy at work anymore. It took me a month of meditation, and I recognized I just want to be a mom. I don't want to conquer the world anymore. I don't want to be a top-notch, CEO. I don't want any of that anymore. I just want to be a mom in this time frame. And when I brought that up to my family, my husband and my parents and my cousins and brother, they all panicked. But I just knew so much at my heart that this is what works for me. That is my medicine. This is what works for me and my kids. But it took me 7 years to make that call because of all the conditioning that I have had. And the funny part is, my parents never told me what to do. I was like a free child. Like I just grew up. And luckily I was a good kid, and I just did things, but I always made choices. So they never told me to become an engineer. I always had these things for myself, but still it was so ingrained in me that it took me 7 years on my own with meditation and with soul searching, and to a point that even though everybody was against me, I said, this is what I'm going to do in that time frame. And when I chose to do that, then everything flew. I was forced to teach yoga at the gym that I was going. And then from there, I was like, oh, I feel out of alignment. I'm going to take the training. And then 2 weeks after that, I ran into this woman, and she called me a week later, offered me a position to teach classes at Stanford with the health improvement program. And me being so enthusiastic about all these things, I had done all my 100 hours of classes that you were supposed to teach to get your certification just by going with my kids to their soccer, to their ballet. I would take their parents in the back, and I would do yoga with them. And so I had everything ready to go. And that started my 50 years journey of teaching yoga, and then ended up being also Pilates, butts and guts, all these classes at Stanford, which was even like my main stop was, it's a rivalry to UC Berkeley. But so I started that, and I was doing that full on and I started doing lectures there. And then from there, after class, students will come to me and they will pour their heart out. And from there, it was actually a couple students that they said that they want to work with me. So that's how it was about, I would say about 8 to 10 years ago that I started getting into transitioning into doing some of the coaching as I was teaching. And then past pandemic, when pandemic happened and all the classes folded, I was like, okay, all this is done. And then I got another call from a student who had moved to Europe, and he said that he wants to work with me. And I said, I usually work with women. He's like, I don't care. I want to work with you. So it kind of built up on that. And I was, to be honest with you, I was way more active pre-pandemic in my coaching and in the circle of people I had, because I was there physically too, because I would show up in a lecture, I would teach on your day, on your morning, on your day lecture. So I would see people on campus, and then I would do my classes, and then I would do another lecture on breathing and summer breathing, how to use energy of sun, how to, so I had more physical contact with people. So I was like, more was happening. And now I am kind of doing the same thing, but it's way deeper. And it goes way deeper into sense of really get to know your true self and really choose without all these layers that got added to us. Some of it is ancestry, to kind of really go deep and kind of know, for example, why do you wear clothes in the morning when you wake up? Because it's society expectations, correct? You can't go naked out. You could, but you don't, because you expect it. Other people expect it because other people expect them to expect it. So there's like go really deep into what is it that you truly want. So I trust all that makes sense.
No, I mean, it's such an amazing journey and story. I have so many questions. So one of the questions I had was the conditioning you had mentioned about kind of growing out of, but you said that you weren't pressured into engineering at an early age. Your parents let you have a little bit more freedom to choose your path.
Yes.
Was engineering something that just felt like it was your calling? And then how did that calling switch to something more holistic with, more movement medicine, whether it's yoga, Pilates, and then obviously moving into coaching?
I grew up in a family of poets. Like my grandpa would break into a poetry, like we would be doing whatever, and he would come up with, he would recite a poem that he just came up with. Like some of them were comical, some of them was in French, some of them was in English. Like I was exposed to that aspect of tapping into your soul mastery, your soul artistry. And my mom used to go to these Sufism meetings, but my mom was always really busy. She was a very active woman, very busy. And for me to spend time with my mom, I would go to those meetings with her. So I can sit on the floor, lean on her. And that was like my time with her. And then by default, I started hearing things. I start hearing that, knowing yourself is knowing God. I'm like, oh, okay. And, so you started hearing things, and you start kind of and you start by default doing meditation and so on and so forth. So I had that. And then I had this uncle who was my favorite uncle. And he left the country to do his master, and he came back and he went to, guess what? Guess where? UC Berkeley. And he came back and he had his master's, and I was in love with my uncle. He lived very close to us, and he was very caring. My mom was the youngest of the group of the three siblings, so both my aunt and my uncle took care of us as being the kids of the younger sibling. So I told everybody, made an announcement at a very early age that I'm going to be an engineer. My dad was a Navy admiral. My mom was into language. Um, I was the one who would open up the radio because I was curious to see how it works. And I would put it back before anybody see it, and I would end up with extra screws and whatever's, but the radio still works. So I was like, nobody has to know. Nobody needs to know.
Puts the extra parts aside. Don't let
Put them
anyone
in a
see.
shoebox. So I had a shoebox of extra leftovers of
Right.
things. So I was always curious of how things work. So it did fuel me in some ways to become an engineer. And I also was, I did a couple really good pieces in my school year as far as writing. And both times I was, they told me that I've cheated. They told me that somebody else has doing those writings for me. And I was like, you know what? I'm just going to stick to math and physics and chemistry, because nobody has told me that I've cheated there. Like, that's where I get to just do my best, and I can show up and I can shine. Here, it seems like I'm being taken like I'm cheating. And that was like very important for me to come from from a very, very young age. That integrity within myself was very important for me. So I was kind of like, I shied away from natural like studies and the humanitarian studies, like the human science. So I went more into the science and physics and math and chemistry, where it was more black
Very
and
concrete, yes or
yeah,
no, black and
yeah,
white. Yeah.
yeah.
Interesting. You mentioned the word mastery before. When you hear that word, what comes to mind for you? How do you define self-mastery?
I think it's to be honest with you, I don't think at every given time we have the mastery. I think it's just the practice. And as long as we keep the practice, we come across as masters. And then when you drop the practice, you're not a master anymore. So it's not a concrete thing, as you said. For example, I taught yoga since 2005, and if I stop my yoga practice, I am not going to be as comfortable and fluid with it. I mean, when I go back to it, it might be easier for me to go back to it. But if I drop it at every given moment and that practice, so you never say I do yoga, you say I practice yoga.
Yeah.
You never say I do meditation, you practice meditation. So all of these things are things that we practice. And for me is, I actually ended up working with a client's child who is a genius boy. And he always put a lot of pressure on himself. And he would tell me, I have to practice because practice makes perfect. And I said, okay, how about we look at that practice makes presence, because the more you practice, as any given time, you can play that tune. When you practice, you just can, at any present time, you can just get on the piano. And if you have enough practice behind you, you can play that tune. May not be perfect, maybe perfect, doesn't matter. But practice brings presence. So at any present time, you can come across as a master when you have that practice behind you.
It's so
So
good.
that's
I love
how
that.
I see it.
Practice makes presence instead of
Yes,
practice makes perfect. It's
yes.
beautifully said. Um, I want to expand on this idea that we're talking about. And for everyone here in the class and for everyone watching, there's a really great book that inspired me to really dive deeper into this idea of self-mastery. And the book is called Mastery. And the author is Robert Greene, who also did another amazing book called The Daily Laws. And that also gets into a lot of what it means to the discipline and the work of the daily work of becoming, again, not a perfectionist, not to become a master per se, but to work towards mastery. I highlighted a section from his book that I wanted to talk about, Moj, and I'm going to read it. And then I have some questions that relate to this reading that I'd love to explore with you a little bit. And this section from his book, Mastery, is called You Have a Destiny to Fulfill. So I'll just read this little section here. Let us state it in the following way. At your birth, a seed is planted. That seed is your uniqueness. It wants to grow, transform itself, and flower to its full potential. It has a natural, assertive energy. Your life's task is to bring that seed to flower, to express your uniqueness through your work. You have a destiny to fulfill. The stronger you feel and maintain it as a force, a voice, or in whatever form, the greater your chance for fulfilling this life's task and achieving mastery. What weakens this force, what makes you not feel it or even doubt its existence, is the degree to which you have succumbed to another force in life, social pressures to conform. This counterforce can be very powerful. You want to fit into a group. Unconsciously, you might feel that what makes you different is embarrassing or painful. At all costs, you must avoid such a fate. The process of following your life's task all the way to mastery can essentially begin at any point in life. The hidden force within you is always there and ready to be engaged. So my question is, what is your life's task? How would you answer that?
I never thought about all like when you were reading those things, none of them like resonated with me in a sense that that's how I'm doing what I'm doing.
Mhm.
To me is, especially when I encounter and work with individuals, I see this also, that we are so misdirected that we don't even know that we have a seed within us. We don't even know. Like this has started, there's a seed within you, but when you look at the society and when you most people don't even, a good majority don't even know that they have something within us, and they're looking outside to find things. So so for me is that takes a lot of some kind of like something has to happen for us to say enough is enough, or there has to be another way. That's how the Course of Miracle, ACIM, was written. Has to be another way. And I noticed that a lot of times in my life, it's like, this can't be it. It has to be another way. And, you know, before even I got into the course about 7 years ago. Um, so, so the way I see it as far as my own self is that I, I always wanted to be in joy. Like I felt when I'm in joy, I feel like a whole lot of things come with it that makes me feel good. I want it to feel good. Like as simple as that. It's not very, you know, technical, and it's like high tech. It's like I want to feel free. I want to feel happy. I want to feel the freedom that I can express love. I mean, that's why like I love children and I love elder people, because you are so free in giving love to these to crowds. Nobody misunderstands you. Nothing's gonna look weird. Like you can be really cute and joyous with a baby and also with an old person. With the people in between, they kind of will look at you like, are you okay? Like, where are you? What do you want from me? So for me was um that's all that's how it all started for me. It's like, this doesn't feel good, this feels good. And it's not the feeling good like the ha ha ha, it's the feeling good of being in alignment with, um am I keeping integrity within myself? Am I at peace with myself? Am I um am I doing the right thing as far as my level of consciousness is? And then build up those things behind myself so I can lean on them. And then when other things come at me, I'm like, no, thank you. I get you. You can do that perfectly fine, but I'm cool here. And that kind of gave me the feeling that at times it could be called some of their names, you know, like, oh, you just blah blah, you know, whatever. But for me, it's like, is that so? That's okay. So if you want me to go back to, for you to tell you what that seed for me is, that seed for me is basically that innate joy. That innate joy that no matter what's happening, you can have that innate joy, and you can still be sad, you can still be angry, you can still be upset, you can be pissed off, you can get ticked off, you can get emotional, you can be in grief, but that innate joy is what drives me.
So my follow-up to that is, because I'm a huge joy person too. We could have hours long conversation on the topic of joy. But I agree with you that this idea of mastery needs to be a practice. And so when I think about joy, and even when you talked about things of like integrity and trust, and I think you were talking about just your own personal values of who you are and what you stand for, wouldn't you say that those also need to be cultivated as well? Like that takes work to be able to handle those moments when we're going to get pissed off and we're going to have our cage rattled and things that kind of upset us. That to me, this idea of responding versus reacting is a key to mastery, of mastering yourself, your emotions, your feelings, your thoughts in order to respond. So this idea of joy, would you say that that is also a practice of you know, a daily work? And what does that daily work look like for you?
I don't like work. Action, I'll go for it if it works. So when I was quitting my job, my husband said, but you're not the housework, you know, the housewife type. I'm like, who said housewife? I'm going to be a stay-home mom. There's nothing about housework in there. I'm going to be staying. So, I have done a lot of hard work in my life, even to this day, but I don't look at it as work. It's more of, it's fun. It's a game, it's inspired. It's more of, I look at it more of inspired action. And it may be looking like I'm just doing something goofy on that side, but it actually is going to be what's going to catapult me to the where I want to go much quicker and with joy. So, so coming back into those things is how we show up just by ourselves, is how we show up outside in the face of adversity. Like we can be cute and pretty in a party and all that, and we can be, oh, hi, how are you? I'm so polite. I eat with knife and fork, and I chew my food or things like that. But how we show up by ourselves is how we show up in the face of adversity. Because in the face of adversity, we are literally gonna speak the way we speak to ourselves. If I'm kind to myself, and I have actually, I'm an engineer. I mean, I still have a left brain that works and it's very active. So I use that as being a scientist and try and error things and look at things. And I have looked at this, that when I'm content within myself, when I have compassion for myself, when I'm kind to myself, when I respect myself, then nothing can waver me. But if I'm having talks to myself, like if I'm doing, I have so many examples I can give you. If I'm doing something and I'm just, bickering at myself, the first person that comes in my line, it's going to be in the line of attack. I've done that.
Yeah.
And I'm like, aha, that's part of my experiment. That was an experiment. It wasn't really me. So I kind of sugarcoated in my own head and I kind of forgive myself for it. But there was this story of this guru and this disciple, that the guru tells the disciple, why don't you go up this hill, up this mountain, and stay in this cottage for 2-3 months in silence and deal with whatever you need to deal, and then come back. So the guy goes and do that, come back, and the guru says, so what are you finding? Because goes, this, that, and he goes, did you do anything that you think you shouldn't have done? And the guy said, not really, not really. And finally he said, you know what, on the way down, I had a bag of garbage and I just tossed it in the hill, but nobody saw it. And the guru says, but you saw it. So that's another story that I heard, I don't even know from where, but that also, like, for me, is I saw it. And that's where all that begins. So if I'm, there's 20 billion bits of information is coming at us at every given moment, and we only can process 50. So if I'm seeing things, if you're being mean to me and I'm seeing that you're mean to me, it's because I chose to see. I chose to see those 50, I chose between those 20 billion bits of information that are coming to me. I chose to see some of those 50s as you being mean to me. Whereas Magdi has been sending me love and I totally didn't see it. So it's all me. I'm the center of, I mean, if you want to get really spiritual about all these things, I'm the center of universe, and it's only me. It's only me. Anything coming, going, it's only me. And I catch myself so many times because I'm married. So I do have my share of whatever. Like a friend of mine wanted to go be in an ashram, and she told the guru, I don't know if I should be in an ashram or should I go get married and have children. He said, well, if you really want to practice, go get married and have children. So I'm married. And I do have my stories as far as, I catch myself. I catch myself so many times. And I'm like, okay, what's going on inside? What is going on with you, Moj? And I'm like, busted. As long as we're in these 3-dimensional bodies, that's the work that you're talking. It's that practice.
Yeah.
As long as we're in these 3-dimensional bodies, we can't just do it once and say we're done. It's like as if we can't just eat one meal and say we're done. We can't just shower once and say we're done. We can't just take 2 breaths and says we're done. It's a continuous practice. So that's the work, is that practice.
Yeah. Beautifully said. Thank you. I'd like to invite our attendees to join in a little discussion. What is your life's task? Or when you hear that, what kind of came up for you in your own mind and heart when I said that? Anyone like to share kind of what they took away from their life's task? Yeah, Andy. Oh, you're muted, Andy. You're still muted. Oh.
Thank you.
Okay, sorry.
Okay. It really kind of creeped me out, and I'm going to tell you why. Talk about spirituality. I come from a family of shamans, and we have visions, and I'm kind of shaking right now because I was being led by spirit. Really, I meditate every day, and everything Mo was saying, I wanted like, I mean, it's like she was living my life in a parallel universe, kind of like I'm a comic book geek. I love comic books. If you ever read Marvel comics, you know they talk about the parallel universe. You know that's what I felt. So I'm kind of like shaking right now because I had a vision, and it's because I need to really get a hold with Mo, because when she was talking about the mastering stuff, I'm being called for a mission, Mo, and I really would need your help because it's a mission that involves the government, and it's a university that really wants me to shake up the government because there's a lot of domestic violence that's going on with military spouses that y'all don't know about. So and it all, she was talking about Iran, and my ex-husband was probably there when her family was, he was a soldier, and he came back really messed up, and well, it just really my enlightenment came, and I'm in contact with like various high priestesses from voodoo. I mean, it's not what you think, but I'm with, really in touch with spirit. And the reason why I'm kind of creeped out because spirit was telling me that I have to come. And then when I heard what Mo was saying, and she was talking about mathematics, well, what I'm going into is clinical social work, and everything's based on mathematics. And I'm all about how does a human brain work? How do we delve into the human brain? It's an equation. You talk about self-mastery, and this is how I look at self-mastery, and because I'm going to have to start coming up with that, equations anyway. So, I looked at it as an equation, and basically what I had said is that, just give me a second, but I'm just kind of like freaking out because my mother told me that I'm not allowed to talk about my gifts. And, sorry, I'm sorry. I'm not trying to offend anybody on a spiritual level, but I just really feel kind of feel like Twilight Zone weird. I'm sorry, guys. But I developed an equation. I would like to share it with Mo about how to self-mastery. Because the way I look about self-mastery, I break it down as a mathematics. Because that's the way I was raised. Break everything down to a science. And I like to break everything down to a science. And when I do that, it's like, how do I do that? It's like kind of like this. The 5D plus the 3D equals the outcome. Does that make sense? 5D represents your soul. The 3D represents the physical. So if you feed your spirit bad talks, keeps talking negative, physically, you're going to start reacting on the mental. And what's the outcome? The outcome is pretty much violence. It's unsuccess. It's negativity all the way around. But if you look at the positive and you put, like self-care plus self-love equals success. And self-care could be anything you think of. And self-care is like your soul plus your physical body equals your outcome. And that's basically how I view things. I view life. And that's why I would love to delve into Mo, because where the people, the field of people I'm going to deal with is going to be a pretty oppressive, but I want to be like the little unicorn that makes them all happy. So that's why I'm just kind of like, wow, I'm just kind of freaked out because I think, if I get in contact with Mo, and my story is very personal and I don't want to talk about it, but I hope maybe she can work with me and be an advocate to make some changes with the government because it's just kind of messed up. So I'm sorry, I didn't mean to like go on this pulpit, I'm sorry,
That's
guys.
all right. That's
I'm
okay,
just
Andy. I
kind of like,
appreciate you.
well, and Greg, thank you for inviting me to your tribe. I really appreciate
No,
it. It's lovely. It's really wonderful to meet such beautiful souls, and I love you all. Thank you.
thanks, Andy. Appreciate that.
Yeah, if I may interject here, Greg, I think
Yeah, please.
one thing is, Andrew, I think the very first thing I would like to suggest, if I may, is pick your choice of words. Like instead of saying you said you were creeped out at the beginning.
I'm sorry, ma'am, but I'm just like I'm an introvert.
Yeah. So when
And this is like I'm an introvert and I'm very nervous.
Yeah. So when you say those things, it's good to kind of make choice of words like you were excited or you were just tickled out of your mind or something, because when you choose words, it also kind of turns the energy in that direction. So I trust that kind of makes sense. So the choice of words we make instead of saying something to kind of express our feelings in a way that sort of helps us with what it is that wherever it is that we're
bingo. This is why I need to get in contact with you because I'm gonna be dealing with trauma, and I need somebody to help me with my choice words because I'm a better writer than I am a speaker. I'm not really good at speaking. I'm shy.
Thank you for that here, though. Thank you.
I would really love to get with you because my choice of words tend to be when I'm public speaking, I'm not a good public speaker. I'm terrible. I really am, and I would love to work with you.
I'll have Moj put her contact information in the chat for you all, so you all can reach her if you're comfortable doing that, Moj. And I'll also make introductions with you all via email. Magdi, Lissa, any thoughts on the conversation in regards to life's task and what came up for you?
I would say something. That has always been something that has been very clear for me. And that is to know me and to experience me in all of God's magnificence. Right? I always think about when I transition, that there will be no gates, there will be just open arms right there. Like just open arms, and that is just that's just a task. The task is just just making sure that that I this is something that I expressed in the past, and it's just getting to know me and to experience me and to inspire others to do the same. And that's it for me. That's it. So this is, and I give it, and hopefully somebody will receive it, and it's simple as that.
So good. Thank you. Lissa, what do you think? Oh, still muted.
For me, what registered with me is being aligned in your knowing what Moj said. I don't know if there's any mastery to that or not. It's just knowing and being in that space and not being judgmental, but accepting and knowing that what you feel is real. And that, to me, maybe that's the mastery of it, is knowing that it's real and sitting with that.
I think it has to start with that awareness, to just to be present, as Moj said, and to just be aware. My journey towards this idea of mastery really came from, as a lot of you know, just developing questions and finding that just staying curious and aware has been such a transformative experience for myself to just get to know me, you know, just to understand how my head and my heart work, and obviously making that be the kind of what drives my spirit. But from myself, this idea of self-mastery is so much about the daily practice of questions. And as I've shared maybe before, my stories from questions post is always, what's the question I need to answer for myself? And then feeling as though maybe that's something to share with others. And every question that comes is guiding me towards just finding the best version of me, of how do I want to show up today? How do I want to present myself to my family, to my friends, to the people I work with? When I'm just out in public, like I'd feel like, and all of you, I think, possess this. You all carry a light inside of you that just brightens and shines when we're kind of at our best. And sometimes that light can get dim when we have those moments where we're upset and angry and pissed off. But we have the ability to bring that brightness back. And to me, that's really what this idea of self-mastery is all about. I think everyone has shared kind of their own take on it, but I think that so much of this idea is to just really understand, like, what is the potential we all carry within inside of us, that potential to love, to give, to be of service, to just be a good human, you know? I think Maggie hit it right on the head, you know, to be able to transition and not have to have any permission or gates to, you know, that hey, here's my permission slip. Like, you know, you did good. And one of my biggest questions that drives me is, how do I want to be remembered? How do I want to make people feel when I'm no longer here? How do I want people to think of me? Not as far as the things that I did, but how did I make them feel? And I think that comes from just the daily work of how I manage myself and how I show up for others. So this whole conversation is something that I could literally have for days on end. But what I'd like to kind of close with, we have probably about 12 minutes or so, is Moj, I'd like to kind of put you back on the hot seat again. So I'm going to put you back on my speaker view. And I have some questions that I have developed and use as kind of my own daily practice of self-mastery. And so these are questions that sometimes I reflect on quietly. These are questions that I'll journal in my book. Sometimes I'll answer them vocally. I tend to do that most when I'm on a walk and I just grab my voice recorder and record my voice. I just can't stop to write anything down. But I also love to ask these questions because I think that everybody has such amazing answers to these questions around who we are and what makes us kind of the person that we are. So Moj, I'd like to kind of take you through a few samplings of my questions that I asked myself and see how this goes, if you don't mind.
Sure.
Okay. What is your service to the world?
What is my service to the world? Well, I believe, I mean, it's a kind of a cliche that comes across because a whole lot of people talk about this, is love is the answer. And I think I did share here before that even I have this poem that my dad used to say, and I believe it's his own, that life is love and love is the truth. And knowing that no matter what's happening, the answer is always love. To just kind of have it in a condensed way explained, even in Course of Miracles, they said everything is either love or cry for love. So what's the answer? If something is from love or if something is cry for love, the answer is always love. And if I choose to have any other answer, that's where my practice comes. My gift is to model that, because we are all teachers. No matter if we say we are not or we are, the way we show up, we teach. We teach by the way we show up. So that would be my thing, that as far as how am I showing up, and to kind of refocus and come home, keep coming home, and to be that love.
It's beautiful. How do you manage stress in your life?
What stress? Oh no. Well, I think a whole lot of signals that we get. For example, if I feel pissed off, that's to me is a gift. So again, that's like another way of thinking of things, and using words to explain things instead of being angry because I'm pissed off. That adds to the pissed offness. I would be like, oh, here comes an opportunity for me to choose how to respond. So to have that awareness, and one of the things I practice, which even my aunt tells me she loves that practice, is I pull myself up and sit at the ceiling and I watch and I laugh, because whenever I'm pissed off or whenever I'm in a hissy fit, it's really comical, because it's literally something like I've been just a 4-year-old throwing temper tantrum, and I'm on the floor kicking and screaming in different shapes or formats. And you can watch like grown men, grown women, like educated, non-educated, you can see all of these and you're like, oh my God, I can totally see. So for me, is in the face of stress, one of the things that I have been doing is I laugh when I'm stressed. And I think now it has become a reaction of mine. Then when something goes wrong, like sometimes everything back to back goes wrong, I just take a moment and I just crack up. And people around me, like my family, my kids kind of look at me, mom went crazy again, but then they start laughing. And then they feel that permission that they can also let go. And then, my husband walks away. He's like, you guys are crazy, but I can see him in the yard laughing too, but he doesn't kind of join us in that. But I mean, it's not like I have not reacted to stress. I still react, but I get to catch myself somewhere along that reaction time. Sometimes I catch myself before. Sometimes I catch myself in the middle. Sometimes I catch myself like 10 seconds after I did. Sometimes I catch myself the day after. But I keep looking at it as an opportunity, that why did that thing triggered me? Why did that thing triggered me? And then I go deep, and then I'm like, but that's not how it is. I mean, if it's about money, if it's about me being loved, if it's about not being included, if it's about not, whatever that stress is, if something breaks in my house, I'm like, well, I'm going to meet a guy or a woman who's going to fix this. I wonder what that's going to do. I wonder who am I going to meet to come and do that. So I kind of reframe things in a very natural way, that, again, that mastery that comes with practice.
Mm-hmm.
The more you practice it, the more it's like you just do it that way.
It's like a muscle, you keep strengthening it, and then when you need it, it kind of kicks in at those moments when you feel weak, but it has a way to bring you strength.
Yeah, and I use that because I am also an athlete. I like to do sports and use sport metaphors. And I do practicing, like, Seth Curry is one of the best basketball players, but he still practices 6-7 hours a day.
Sure.
Yeah. And then for us is, if I go to the gym and I try to lift a 50-pound weight, I'm going to go, ugh. But I do it because it's strengthened my muscles. I don't say, oh, I'm pissed off at this one. I'm not going to do this one. I'm going to go do that 20-pound one because at least I can lift that one. No, life is like that. When you something come at you, you're like, come. Let me see. Okay, I can only do it this much, but I got stronger. So next time I can do better. Next time I can do better. Not that I'm inviting it in my life, but when it's showing up, I'm like, okay, it's gym time.
I like that. Very good. I like this question a lot. Who are you becoming?
Becoming, to me is, I believe in that, in the power of now. So whoever I want to become, I'm now. I mean, if I want to be anybody, anything, this is my chance right now, right now, right now, right now, right now. So as far as me becoming, I don't have any aspiration of becoming anything, anybody. For me is to more be who I am, because as Dr. Seuss says, nobody's youer than you. Why do you want to be anybody else? You know, everybody else is taken and nobody's youer than you. Why do you want to be? So for me, my aspiration is to just be more of myself, however I can see, however deep I can see, to be that. And then maybe later I get more layers off, and then to be that. I trust that. I trust that makes sense.
No, it makes beautiful sense. It sounds like there's just a lot of self-acceptance into this is who I am. This is all of me right now.
Yeah.
Is what that sounds like to me, instead of evolving into something new and different, you know, like Moj 2.0. It's like, no, I like Moj as I am right now.
And it also helps you with a lot of your conversations, because when people say something, you would say, no, at this time, this is what works for me. And nobody can really say anything to that. Nobody can sway you, because I do have, you know, people who are very strong-minded around me. And for me, like, I get you, but what works for this is this, even though it doesn't make sense. So then you don't need to win an argument. You just say, you do what you need to do, and this is what this person, this being is going to do at this moment,
Sure.
because that's what resonates with me. And nobody's going to argue with, to most extent, nobody's going to argue with that what resonates with me is this.
Wow. So good. Two more questions, and then we'll kind of close for the day. How do you define your value?
How do I define my value? Boy, this is a lot of like, I gotta go to my left brain. There's a lot of like, how do I define my value? Let me write this down for you. How do I define my value? I think, gosh, I gotta go maybe to a point to see if I ever define values. I think I sort of was more of, you know, like you have a multiple choice, and then you kind of feel your feelings, and you're like, no, this doesn't work for me. No, this doesn't work for me. No, I don't. And then I'm like, okay, I'm going to drop this. I'm going to drop that. And then things that felt good for me was the value of having that self-integrity, because that self-integrity encompasses so many different things. So when you are you have that self-integrity, you can't help it but come across confident. You can't help but know what you're saying, and you know that what you're saying is nothing to, even if somebody takes it wrong, but you know at your heart, you don't explain yourself as much, because you know that that's how it is. So for me, I think the main value that has been defined for me, and sometimes I have to maybe check against it, is that self-integrity. Like if I'm doing something, I'm like, no, go back and pick up that trash. In so many different senses. If I do something, if I say something to somebody, let's say if I'm talking to my mom, to my cousin, or anybody, I'm like, okay, let's go back and pick up that trash, because that's all about me. I need to pick up that trash, rather than so it's like just keep going back to my own integrity, to me, within me, and that's the only person I gotta answer to.
Wow, great answer. All right, my last question for tonight is, what is your unique ability? And defining unique ability for me is combining what you love to do with something you're naturally good at that is kind of effortless to you. Combining those things, it kind of turns into like a unique ability for yourself that's kind of special. But what comes to mind when you think of what is your unique ability?
I think one of my unique abilities is that that I do have the feminine and masculine sides kind of work in harmony with each other. and being more on the masculine side most of my life, as being brought up with older brother, playing mostly with boys, going to schools that were mostly male dominant, working industry that was 99% male dominant, and to kind of come and be a mother and then work on my feminine side and see the fruits of being the feminine side and all of that, and then know that at times I got to go there, at times I got to go here, and then eventually noticing that it's all gotta play, and that's how you see those yin and yang shapes. Are like, aha, that's why it looks like that. So I think one of my unique abilities, especially when I work with my people, with my tribe and my clients, is I can bring both of those two in a harmony, not in a balance, in a harmony together.
Beautiful. So, so good. I love that. Oh, thank you. I thought you were saying you love her answer, but I like that question too. So on that, Magdi, I actually am going to be sending you, as part of the handout today, some of these questions that I've asked myself, that I've asked Moj here tonight, and expand a little bit more. And I really would encourage you all to answer them in your own way. Again, I typically choose 4 ways to answer. It could be silently and just reflection or meditation, writing the question on my notebook in a journal and answer it written, vocally answering in a voice app or recorder so I can go back and re-listen to my answer. But I also encourage you to take these questions and ask each other, ask your loved ones and friends, and see what others have to say in terms of their own ideas of just how they formulate their answers. That tells me so much about the practice and work that they've done to be the person that they are. Moj, I think that your answers were so beautifully stated that it just speaks to me about the work. I know you don't like the word work, the practice that you do that makes your fullness of who you are come out in your answers. And to me, that is a sign of self-mastery. So I applaud you for that, and continue the good work as much as.
And you too. Thank you for creating this space, and bringing out these questions that are kind of so potent, and we get to express ourselves in this platform. So thank you so much for creating.
No, this is part of my unique ability. Is I love to connect with people. I love to ask questions, and I love creating a space to do that. This is something that is effortless for me to do. And to piggyback on that a little bit, just to do a little bit of self-promotion, I've decided that to kind of capture this energy of the masterclass in a more formal setting where we're actually going to really explore a topic in depth in a group setting, is I'm going to be launching a group program starting on September, it's on Saturday, September 7th at 10 a.m. Mountain, 9 Pacific, 11 Central, 12 Eastern. I'll have a flyer with this. And it's a 90-day journey towards self-mastery. And the title of it is called Own Your Story. And I believe that, like Moj has shown, that when you know yourself, when you can truly answer questions that are about you, the fullness of you, it really does show the work that's been put into mastering what it means to be the best version of yourself. So the entirety of the 90 days together is going to be in a group setting. We're going to do 2 Zoom calls per month. There'll be also individual sessions that I'll be scheduling with the group members to do your own interpersonal journey work. Everybody will get their own brand new Moleskine journal, which is my favorite journals to write in. You get to choose your color and style, so that is a part of it as well. And plus, we're just going to build just an amazing community around this course of just what does it mean to achieve and work towards self-mastery. So I'll have a flyer posted here shortly on the group and the details around that. In the meantime, we have another masterclass scheduled for Friday this week at 10 a.m. Mountain, 9 Pacific, 11 Central, 12 Eastern. I'll have all the details in, and I'll have this along with Moj's amazing answers posted on my page for everyone to view. Moj, do you have anything in closing to say? And I'd love to have people reach out to you if you've got some a website or details. Please forward that to me, and people can get in touch with you if you'd like that. But Anything to close us out for tonight?
No, I just wanted the same thing. I just want to extend the gratitude. That's all I feel right now. I just feel gratitude to you and to these beautiful ladies who showed up here today.
Yeah.
So thank you so much.
Yeah. Thank you, Andy, Lissa, and Magdi, for your time and your presence. And Moj, thank you again for being my guest for tonight. This was wonderful. And for everyone watching, I look forward to seeing you later this week. Please send me your thoughts and feedback on the master classes. And if you would like to be a future guest, please let me know that as well. And for right now, I'm going to sign off and stop the recording.